I'm the principal at Shimek Elementary School here in Iowa City. I wanted to start this video today sharing just a little bit about our process towards 1.8. But to kick things off, I wanted to take a moment to thank our leadership team, which includes our instructional coach, Chrissy Newt, and then 4 classroom teachers that span grades 1 through 6, Kayla Cordova, Lori Kasparic, Vicki Mueller, and Kathy Ross. So thank you to them for all the work that they've done for our building, especially through the lens of HRS and towards the certification process of level 1. When we took a look at level 1.8, we felt that when we reflected on the school managing its fiscal, operational, technological resources in a way that directly supports the teachers, overall we felt that while we saw some high-level means, we feel like there's still some areas here that we can grow in. And so we documented it as such. To begin, if we take a look at just the administrator survey or my survey feedback, I think the big thing that really stood out to us as a team was teachers having adequate time to teach effectively. When we took a look at things like materials, budgets, things like that, a lot of those had means of around 4, which was great. But again, kind of focusing back in on that adequate time, we know how crucial that is, and it's an area that we really want to improve on. If we take a look at some of our staff data, I think you'll see some similar results here. Having that time to teach effectively, I believe that was the lowest score at a 3.2. Our scores ranged anywhere from that 3.2 up to 4.1. We did note that, as far as teachers having things like materials to teach effectively, for example, that was an area that we scored really high in. So, there are some good things that we feel like are going on in 1.8, and there are some things that we feel like we really want to make time to get better at. So again, feeling like this is an area of growth. Both our staff and myself felt that we need to do a better job of making time and using our time effectively so that we can teach the Common Core standards. Those are our promises to our kids and to our families, and we just have to figure out a way to dig deeper and find ways to remove or work through barriers like time. So we tried to gather some different artifacts, some of our practices to represent some of the work that we've been doing and some of the ways that we can grow. And so those include schedules, budgets, and different curriculum materials we thought would be some nice pieces to highlight for you today. So if we start out with the teacher schedules, just the way that our district is designed, we're one of 20 elementary schools. And so we kind of start out in the summer months negotiating with our colleagues on where specialist teachers will be going and for what portions of the day. And once we get those all sorted out, our next step is to go ahead and take a look at our special education schedules. We sit down with not only our special education teachers, but our ELL teacher, as well as our ELP teacher, our academic support teacher, and we try to find those common times for them, where they can pull kids without interrupting those whole group or core lessons. So, and then finally after that, we take a look at our instructional time allotment and sit down together and kind of go teacher by teacher or class by class and use that allotment and the special schedules and the individual student schedules to build our classroom schedules around at that point. So that's a little bit about the process. We'll take a quick look here. You can see, let's take a look at this teacher schedule. So here's an example, and this spreadsheet has all of our schedules just on different tabs, but we really try to break the day down into 5-minute increments and make it really specific to that classroom and what they need. And so, just an example, from 7:40 to 8 o'clock, as the kids are coming in on a daily basis to kindergarten here, um, we're taking attendance. We're doing kind of a soft start. Some kids might bring breakfast into the classroom and things like that. After that, we start with our morning meeting or a circle time, and then we head into the area math. And you'll see later on in the schedule uh, times for like library and art. Those are kind of the specials and pieces that we can't move around too much. So that's an example of what our schedules look like. So another piece that we started this year was we're doing some instructional time audits, and this was a form that we worked on. Our instructional coach and myself worked on, and we just really wanted to get some data on our time audits. And so if you want to see a little bit more about those pieces, you're able to click on some of these links here, but there's a little bit of a screenshot there at the bottom. And so we wanted to look at kind of compare our schedules to what's actually going on in the classroom, and then take even a little bit deeper dive into what sort of literacy component are we looking at. These were all times that in this particular survey we were looking to make sure that we were in that literacy block. We also did another one for math as well, but this one breaks things down even a little bit deeper. So we're looking at, are there times when we're doing phonological awareness? Are we doing, fluency work with the kids? What is it exactly that's going on in the classroom? So those are a couple pieces when we're thinking about the teacher's time and what we have in the day, and that being an area that we can improve in. These are some ways that we wanted to look at that. So the next piece that we have as a part of 1.8, because it obviously encompasses more than just our time, but another piece was our building budget. And so with that, our district, we receive a little more than $7,000 per student, and that's across the state. So it's not, it's not as much a local thing as it is a state thing for the state of Iowa. With that, our building funds, we think about the things that the district already accounts for, like teacher salaries or maintenance and furniture and things like those. Those come from they pull those monies from other accounts or the general fund, and so basically what comes back to us at the building is monies for instructional materials, printing costs, and things of that nature. And so we get roughly, this last year we had roughly $50 a student, with budget cuts being what they are. This is an area that we needed to cut in for next year. And so we went from roughly $50 a student to, we'll see more of probably about $42 a student in the 24-25 school year. So a little bit of a decrease there. Just to give you an idea of what that budget looks like, we've got, you can click on that link again if you want to see it in more detail, but basically a spreadsheet that is shared between us and the business office. It talks about, just our overall amount that we have allocated for the fiscal year of 24. And it kind of breaks it down, and we go ahead and budget those items into different areas. And so instructional supplies, printing, copying, art, different areas like that are reflected in our building budget. If you want to, one thing that we wanted to do was take a look at what our instructional material needs are for the upcoming year. And so again, we gathered some quick data survey from staff, and the top two there, we wanted more phonics for reading materials, and then more of our UFly literacy materials as well. So those are things that we're working on ordering and making sure that we have those in and ready for our instruction in August. Next up, we wanted to highlight some of our online curriculum materials. The pandemic year, our district committed to finding quality materials for our staff and for our students to use. At the start of the pandemic, at that time, we were able to receive some ESSER dollars, and the first thing that we used those for was to fund one-to-one technology for all of our teachers and students in kindergarten through 12th grades. Um, I think one thing that we've really been trying to do coming out of the pandemic now is to try and find that balance between, um, you know, what do we use in the classroom, what materials are we going to best use as far as online pieces that we want to continue. We feel like they're benefiting our kids, and so that's another area where we took a look at like usage um, and different data points to see. So Dreambox, for example, was a piece that we dropped, um, and we ended up keeping Lexia. So if we go to the next slide, you can see that up there in the top corner on the right, we have kind of a curriculum landing page. So this is what our students would see if they opened up. They use their Clever Card to get into their Chromebook. So you see the different apps there that they're able to use. Sometimes teachers will put their assignments on this page. So it's really kind of a jumping off point when we talk about any online instruction that we're having the kids work on throughout the day. We talked about some of that data again. If you look in the upper left, we see kind of our Lexia minutes and how that broke down, just our building overall. And then we just took a couple of quick snapshots of some of the K-5 math materials that we've been using, as well as the Zahner Blosser materials that we've been using for Super Kids for our younger grades. Another piece that we thought about were grants, and our foundation does a tremendous job of providing our kids and our schools a number of opportunities through the fundraising that they do. And so a couple of those things that we benefited from directly, in addition to different field trips and experiences that we had for our kids, is that we had some teachers that applied for grants last year. And if you take a look at the amount that was awarded for the Me Zones, that's very similar to what our building budget is going to be for the upcoming year. But what that allowed us to do was we created tools and materials so that we could create calming or regulate spaces in the classroom where kids could help self-regulate. And so we did that through the Big Idea Hunt, and we were able to secure those tools and resources for every single classroom space, including some of our different office spaces as well. If kids need to use those at different parts of their day, those resources are readily available, and it's not something that we ask our teachers to have to go out and get or kind of create those on their own. We've got something kind of universal in place thanks to that grant. And then you can see another one was our Little Idea Hunt, and so we have a care closet. That one was a much smaller amount, but we were still able to do a lot with it. And so our teachers were able to purchase some healthcare products and things like that for students who might need those at any time. And so again, those are all pieces that we have to credit our Iowa City Community School District Foundation. They do just a phenomenal job of fundraising, in addition to what our local PTOs do for our kids. So here's just a couple of quick artifacts from those big and little idea hunts. The one below is kind of the spreadsheet that we used. We collected feedback on what teachers felt their kids need, based on different accommodations that kids might have in their 504 plans or IEPs. We did some research in different texts to see what would be recommended. And so that's how that list was kind of created and developed. And of course, we implemented those calming corners or me zones in each of our classroom. And then the one up above is just a quick snippet of of how we were kind of monitoring the pieces that we did for the care items, and really trying to keep track. Miss Mueller did a nice job of keeping track of what materials were being used, so that as we look ahead, to future years, we're able to replenish those things that the kids use the most. So appreciate her collecting that quick data for us as well. Um, and the final piece that we wanted to share with you was the teacher quality budget. And for us in the state of Iowa, um, we have monies that are set aside for funding of professional development. And so our district does a nice job of kind of balancing that. So they allocate some of those dollars, and again, those are based on per pupil numbers, to allow for differentiated learning within our different buildings and staff. And so every year, while individuals can apply for teacher quality projects, we also have some things that we can do at the building level. And so we'll share a couple examples of those in the next slide. And so we just created a small table to kind of show you. In 22-23, we spent that allocation down, and we were able to take a small team to training on PLC Plus. We learned some great things, and we're able to refine our processes. We shifted away from looking at over and over at some of our intervention data and really shifted our focus towards universal instruction, and noticed right away some really huge gains from that. And then the year after that, we were able to use some of our allocations for some of our team members to go to the local HRS conference that we had here in the state of Iowa. It was in Cedar Rapids in July of last year, and we felt like a lot of our leadership team now has that perspective, which has really helped. And so, looking ahead to our next round of TQ monies, I think the next thing we want to work on is improving our cultural responsiveness, and also learning more about some of those PSYOP strategies that a lot of us have had training on in the past, but we've brought on new staff since we did more of a universal training with teachers, and we want to bring that back. And so I anticipate that late this summer, early this fall, we'll be using some of those dollars to revisit those two areas. So this is just a quick snapshot. If you wanted to take a closer look at what that form or spreadsheet looks like as far as our TQ plan, you're more than welcome to do so. But basically, at the top, it kind of highlights what it is that we're going to be doing. So this is the example from the High Reliability Schools Institute, and we were able to take a first grade teacher, second grade teacher, and sixth grade teacher. Again, all of those ended up being members of our leadership team this year. So we felt that was money really well spent. And then that other piece in the lower left kind of takes a look at some of the expenditure descriptions and things like that, and what that overall cost was going to be for us. So yeah, again, we feel like 1.8 as a lagging indicator. We feel that this is an area of growth for us. It's something that we want to improve on. And, as part of our action planning for next year, we'll continue to work on those schedules in particular, making sure that we're building in enough time for the Common Core, in particular our priority standards, and then also, making time for the social emotional learning that needs to take place, as well as just all those little logistical things like lunch times and recesses, and specials and things like that. So, and then, having a plan to kind of monitor that and make sure that we're using that time with fidelity. We feel like our reading and math data didn't trend in the direction that we wanted it to this year. And so it's really important for us to make sure that first and foremost, we have the time to be able to commit to our universal instruction at that Tier 1 level before we start to try to go into too much depth with our interventions. So hopefully, that we'll see the dividends of that in the years and months to come. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you for all of your support and feedback this year. We really, really appreciate it, and hope you have a great day.